Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Real Science Exchange, the pubcast where leading scientists and industry professionals meet over a few drinks to discuss the latest ideas and trends in animal nutrition. Tonight, we're coming to you from the 55th World Dairy Expo, and it's an electric atmosphere here. We have the FFA Day here, so we've got a lot of FFA kids going up and down the aisles. We've been doing these podcasts now for about 2 years. And the thing I like most about these is meeting some really cool people. And we've got a star-studded cast today that we're going to be talking to. First, we've got Joey Aroso. Joey's from Pixley, California. We've also got Kelly Reynolds from Raycrest Farms in Corfu, New York. And we got Jeff King from King's Ransom Farm in
Schuylerville.
Tonight's pubcast stories are brought to you by ReaShure Precision Release Choline. ReaShure is the most researched encapsulated choline on the market today, consistently delivering results to your transition cows of higher peak milk, reduced metabolic disorders, and even in utero benefits to her calf, leading to growth and health improvements. Visit balchem.com to learn more.
Jeff, we're going to start with you. I heard you had a great day yesterday in the show ring. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we did. We've been showing here at World Dairy Expo for a number of years now. And my nephew was fortunate enough, had a young junior 3-year-old in the Holstein Junior Show. She won her class and also ended up reserve intermediate champion. So it was a big day for all of us at King's Ransom and everybody that we're working with back in the barn. So a lot of smiles all around.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Understand you know everybody here, but for those that don't know you, just give us a real brief background on who Jeff King is and your farm.
Okay. King's Ransom Farm, we're in the eastern part of New York State, near Saratoga Springs. We milk about 1,000 registered Holsteins, crop about 3,000 acres to feed those animals. 3 times a day, all registered Holsteins. We do a lot of work with the registered side of the business and have a significant marketing program. We produce embryos and bulls for AI and sell a lot of females as well. Also in our business, we have we bottle some milk. We have a small processing plant on the farm, so we do a little bit of milk bottling. We've got an ice cream parlor and kind of a growing little area of our business. I farm there with my brother. He and I are partners. Both of our wives are involved in the business, my wife Becky and his wife Pandora, and also our kids. The oldest one has just returned from college, and he's now working with us, and a few younger ones along the way. So we're excited, hopefully, to have some family involvement as well.
Excellent. Looking forward to our conversation this afternoon. Kelly, tell us a little bit about yourself. I understand you're originally from Wisconsin, so you're back home, but you live in New York as well. So tell us a little bit about the future at Rencrest.
Yes, I grew up in Wisconsin and met my husband Tyler at Cornell University. We are the 3rd generation on our farm. We farm along with his parents, John and Shelley, and his siblings, Mackenzie and Andy. We milk 1,400 registered Holsteins and crop about 2,700 acres. And the show side of the business is the fun side for us. We always joke, some people have a boat, we have show cows. And we're here at the show with 15 head from our farm.
So boats cost a lot of money. How about show cattle?
Yeah, it's definitely not cheap to come here, but we're excited to be here. We actually had the junior champion jersey last night was
Nice.
From our farm. We purchased her as an embryo and sold her this spring. So we enjoy a little bit of marketing, but we also enjoy just bringing a group from our farm and seeing how they stack up.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us today. Joey, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so actually I am 4th generation. My great-grandfather came to the United States in 1912. My grandfather started a dairy in the same area in southern San Joaquin Valley, which is about 2.5 hours north of LA, and kind of a real fertile farming area there. They settled kind of next to the Tulare Lake bottom there. And, at one time the Tulare Lake was the largest lake west of the Mississippi. And so it was probably a great place for them to settle and pasture their cows. And they actually shipped their milk to a creamery there that was founded in 1909 by a bunch of farmers called Dairymen's Cooperative Creamery. And we actually merged with Land O'Lakes in 1998. And we currently ship to Land O'Lakes. I have my mom and dad are partners with my wife and I. My mom and dad gave me the opportunity to they kept the business going. My grandfather died at a young age in 1963. My dad was 20 years old and they took the business over. And so I really learned
How many
a lot
cows
of work.
they have then?
They had about 200 cows when they took the business over. And so, you know, I really, from a young age, I learned really good work ethic from watching my mom and dad work out there. And then I had, you know, I guess one of the smartest things I did in my life was in 1980, I married a great woman who had similar passion. You know, you can share, you have a dream, but dreams aren't any fun unless you can share them with people and they have that same dream with you. And I was blessed to have a wife who had that dream with me. And so we've been farming in Pixley there. We have 3,000 registered Holsteins, 200 registered Jerseys, and we farm about 1,800 acres. And yeah, so it's been we have 4 generations on the farm, something that I'm really proud of. My dad still there, myself, my son who's about 35, and then a grandson who's 12, and then he's got 3 kids. My daughter's got 2 kids, so 5 grandkids, and yeah, it's a great opportunity to grow up with your family and spend time on the farm together
Yeah,
and work
outstanding.
together.
You know, one of the things I want to talk to folks about is kind of your business philosophies. Joey, I don't know if you want to start, but, you know, tell us a bit about, you kind of already told us why you do it, but what is kind of your philosophy that you bring to work with you every day?
Well, I think, you know, and it came up the other night at the Dairy Shrine Awards thing. In life, you got to have passion for whatever you're going to do. And so I think you got to bring that passion with you to your farm, and you got to have people that have that same passion to help you take care of your animals. You can't run a farm by yourself. We've all had to gotten bigger and to be more efficient and to afford all the new technology that's coming about every day. And so, you know, it requires really good people that have a love for farming, a love for the cows, and kind of a love for family, because really, you know, a farm is kind of like a big family. Your employees have families that, you know, live there too, and so that's really what it takes. And then I think you got to be you have to have a dream. You got to always be looking forward. Try not to look back; doesn't do you any good. And just look to the future. And I think probably one of the most difficult things is deciding on which technologies that you can afford and which ones that'll make your business better going forward.
Very well said. Kelly, you mentioned that you listened to last year's podcast in preparation. And if you'll remember, passion came up as well in that podcast. Why don't you talk a little bit about the passion you guys bring to your dairy and talk a little bit about the culture that you guys are creating there?
Yeah, listening to Joey, so much of that story resonates with our family. We're definitely cow people at our farm. I always joke that I get roped into things like this podcast tours because my family are cow people and not people. And so I like doing outreach and things like that. And but that is, my family loves farming. We love the cows, and I think as we've gotten bigger, for instance, my husband, he would love to be in the barn every day, but he's taking care of the people on our farm, which is just as important as my sister-in-law, who takes care of the cattle every day. And as we've grown and as all of us have gotten more mature, our passions have maybe shifted on the farm. We all love showing cattle, but my husband is just as passionate about the team and putting up good feed, and Mackenzie cares about what's happening on the farm almost to a fault. So that care that our family brings every day, we hope that trickles down to our team and how they're showing up every day. So really, I would say we try to lead by example as much as we can, and that's a big part of our culture, is maybe not trying to force people into what they love, but if we love what we're doing, hopefully the people that are working for us love what they're doing as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. Jeff, Kelly mentioned that she's cow people, right? I have a feeling we're all cow people around the table here, right? As evidenced by the fact that you brought cattle to this conference. How hard is it as your dairies grow to step a little bit back from being a cow person and being more of a CEO of your operation? How have you managed that?
Well, I'm not sure I've managed it well from day to day, but we certainly rely on great people in our business. Between our farm and our retail business, we've got about 60 people on the payroll now, and I never ever would have envisioned that even 5-6 years ago. So things have gone in a direction that maybe we weren't prepared for, but it's really enforced the importance of the people on our team, and it's made us realize how incredible some of those folks are. We're so fortunate to have talented people in every aspect of our business, and that just makes the whole thing roll better. My brother and I, who run the business and we own the business, we're both away this whole week. And when we talk about being cattle people, everybody back home knows that we're engaged in this business, in the cattle business, and we're going to be away from time to time, and they're making things hum probably better with us away than when we're there. But they're also engaged in what we do, and whether it's having a little success in the show ring or things that we might sell in a sale, they're very engaged and they want to be included. They love to hear about those successes, and it's part of everyone's success in the team. So it's a challenge, but keeping everybody involved and everybody sharing in that success is a big part.
Yeah, I've heard all three of you guys talk about the importance of team and people, but I've got to believe that they're also one of the challenges, right, on the dairy, and that's getting the right people, getting enough people. Can you guys talk a little bit about that, and how have you solved some of those problems?
Well, I think especially through COVID, it was really difficult, and we, I'm from probably, I'm going to say, the most regulated state in California, with California.
Joe, New York's catching up quick.
Yes.
We're nipping at your heels.
I was going to say, when we all sat down here, that we had that in common. We are all in high regulated states where, we're probably the highest minimum wage. We have a 40-hour work week for, we have overtime over 40. And one of the things that I think has really gotten difficult probably in the last year and a half is that, as they develop these rules for businesses, they're thinking about factories and things that they can shut the key off, and, you can let everything shut down for an hour or 15 minutes. But unfortunately, on a farm, we know that farms run 24 hours a day. And so that's probably been one of our biggest challenges, not so much finding people, but just continuing to deal with the new regulations, and also creating that balance where you're able to take care of your animals and still have, live within the proper regulations that are required now of us in California. I will say something that I think is pretty monumental for the dairy industry in the United States is that if you think about the supply chain disruptions that happened everywhere, the cows never stopped giving milk in this country. The production never stopped coming. And so I that's a tribute to every dairy farmer across our country and the people that work there and what they did in a very challenging time. And I think it's something that I'm proud of, and I know that all my dairy farmer friends are too.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned the COVID and some of the challenges that we went through. We're really not past that yet, right? We still have supply chain issues. We still have cost of commodities are still high. How are you guys dealing with that, and what's the future look like? Is that going to level out anytime soon?
It's still a challenge for us at home. Sourcing workers, we've actually done pretty well on the farm. It's been a little more challenging in the retail business. We hire some truck drivers, and of course, finding people in the truck driving business is very difficult.
Yeah. We're super fortunate. We have a great team, but talking about replacing people, we're building a new barn and we're trying to make everything a half-person job. When we're building something or making future plans, how can we cut this into something that one person can do for 5 hours versus two people or one person during their 10-hour day? And just always working on those efficiencies and things like that. And the supply chain side of things with this new barn, you priced out something from 4 years ago and you had this budget in mind and everything has doubled or tripled. And I think that part of our business, it affects everyone in every business, but we're price takers, and I think just navigating through all of that will always be a challenge.
Yeah.
But
Certainly price takers when it comes to milk, but you guys are in the business of selling much more than just milk, right? So we've got genetics, you're in the meat business, you sell manure indirectly. So I kind of like to talk a little about some of those income streams that you guys have gotten. Let's talk, Kelly, about your genetics business.
yeah, on the genetic side of things, I would say that's a small portion of our business, a drop in the bucket, but it's something certainly when the opportunity arises, we're always, we try to market cattle and things like that. And certainly in the future, we're always talking about we would love to do something with ice cream. Again, cow people, not people. So we have to be, we also always have to be looking towards the future, but there's definitely a lot of areas of opportunity for us to diversify our business at the moment. So I always enjoy sitting down with folks like this and hearing what they are doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeff, you guys have a milk business. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, actually, my family was in the milk business up until the 60s. When they sold the milk business, they weren't sure my father was going to come back to the farm, and ended up just continuing to milk cows. So my brother and I brought that back here in the early 2000s, and we recently, about 7 years ago now, we built a milk plant on the farm. We started bottling our own product. We deliver milk door to door in the local area, about a 30-mile radius from our farm. Milk and a lot of other products, beef and all types of other
Your own
farmers.
beef?
Sorry?
Your own beef?
Our own beef, yes. We really don't focus too hard on that. We focus a lot more on our dairy products. And anyway, we then later built an ice cream parlor right on the farm, so we're open year round there with the ice cream parlor. And we sell milk into a lot of stores in the local area. We're starting to get closer to the metro New York area. So it's been a focus. Probably one of the challenges for our location is that we're in a growing area that people really have been moving to quite a bit. So for as well as the land grows corn and alfalfa and grass, it really likes to grow houses even more. So the ability for us to really expand and increase the number of cows is pretty challenging for us in our area. So as we kind of strategize that over time, we thought, where can we maybe utilize use these new residents and people moving to our area to our advantage? And so that's kind of why we headed back into the retail business. So it's been certainly fun, very challenging from time to time, but it probably one of the most probably the best experience out of that is being able to put your own name, your own brand on a label or on an ice cream cone, and having people tell you this is some of the best ice cream or milk that I've ever had. So, and that brings a lot of pride, not only again to us, but the whole team. It really helps, allows everybody to tie into that.
So looking into the future, do you see that being a even bigger part of your business, or is that?
Yeah, we've kind of been growing slowly, and we actually got to the point where we need a little more space. So we just completed an expansion, and it's going to give us the opportunity to increase our production a little bit more. So we're working toward that. But it's not an easy market to jump into. It's not a brand new product. It's a product that's been around for a while. So you've got to bring people into your brand. So
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
So Joey, you're in the energy business. Tell us a little bit about that.
So really, our putting our toe in the water of the energy business is really driven by California regulating our industry to have 40% of the methane mitigated by 2030. And so we have one of the newest dairy facilities in California. And so when that regulation action came about, one of the things that we quickly started looking at was how we mitigate that so we maintain the value of our facility and, the viability of our business. And, just like every other farmer I know, we want to do the best we can to take care of our farms, the environment, clean water, clean air. And so the regulation environment they created, fortunately, they created an environment that allowed us to get paid if we captured the methane. And so about 8 years ago, we partnered with Calgren Dairy Fuels, which was a neighbor of ours who we were already buying the wet distiller product from them. We had a great relationship with them already. And one of the things that I was particularly looking for was not changing the dynamics of my farm. I didn't want a bunch of people driving in and out every day. I wanted it pretty simple. And so myself, along with about 14 other dairymen, were all located fairly close, about 50,000 cows within a real close proximity, and also facilities that are all really new and pretty modern. And so together with Calgren, we basically put in an infrastructure which connected every dairy to each other and then to the main plant. All the technical equipment is at the Calgren. They clean the gas, process it, and then they put it into a main line and sell it to customers who want to buy renewable energy. And they also required, companies or corporations doing business in California to have to buy a certain percentage of renewables. So that basically created a market for us to be able to sell into. And we were the first dairy to go online in California. It's been really a great experience so far. And I guess it's one of the old adages, don't be first, don't be last. But in this particular case, being first was actually good. And we've had a good relationship with Calgren. And I know that it's become super popular, not just in California, but in other states now. And it's I think it's a great way for us to, we talk about all the time how amazing cows are, what they do. I mean, you take an animal that takes all these byproducts that we feed and converts it into, in my opinion, the greatest food source on the planet. And now not only does she do that, she creates fertilizer, she creates energy. I mean, it's kind of amazing. And so it's a great thing to add to the story, a great story that we already have.
Yeah. Do you see yourself selling carbon credits sometime in the future?
Yeah, I think we will,
Okay.
And I'll tell you, I think, agriculture in general is one of the only, I think it is the only industry on the planet that can be carbon negative.
Okay. Wow.
That's amazing.
That is amazing.
Yeah, and we can be carbon negative and still feed everybody on the planet. Think about that.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a point we've got to get out there among our consumers, and we will circle back and talk about the consumers in a moment. But one thing I kind of wanted to kind of check in on is technology, right? Technology is changing rapidly in the dairy industry, whether it's robotic milkers, whether it's wearables for tracking what the animals are doing, whether they're ruminating, eating, laying down, all those kinds of things. So I'm kind of curious if you guys have embraced technologies and where you see it going in the future.
Yeah, we have the SCR system, the wearable collars on our farm. I think there's an opportunity for us to embrace technology a little bit more, but certainly that was a big first step for us. And as we talk about efficiencies and cutting that time in half where an employee has to do work, we basically cut a herdsperson position, and my sister-in-law is able to do all of those herd metrics by herself and look at all that information, and that's been really helpful on our farm. Right now, I don't know, we're not really looking at a lot more technology to use, but certainly nothing's ever off the table.
Very similar for us. We've got a cow monitoring, rumination, and heat detection program that we use. We're looking at updating that with some new technology soon, and a few other small things. But a lot of our technology decisions are with the changing landscape. It's changing so quickly in New York. We're really going to be looking to push labor efficiency items as much as we possibly can. Even in some of our cropping systems, we're unfortunately in a spot where we have to rent a lot of land, so it sometimes makes it challenging to invest a lot. But wherever we can, even making fields larger and tiling and some of those things, that's going to make that crop production more efficient and probably use less labor hours as well. We've been working on some of those things as well. So while we haven't invested heavily, I could see the chance that we do here down the road.
And would that mean like robotics? You're talking about personnel before and challenges with getting enough people. Do you see yourselves moving into robotic milkers anytime soon?
Perhaps. I haven't been totally convinced by robotics yet, but we're in a spot where we are using a very old milking parlor. We've aimed our investment dollars in our milk processing and so forth. So our parlor is quite antiquated. So sometime in the near future, we'll be making some big decisions there.
Yeah, I was on my first relatively large robot dairy, I think 800 cows, and was really amazed at how quiet it was. And the cows just seemed like they were doing very well. So when it comes to animal welfare, maybe there's a play there as well sometime in the future. It was striking. Want to talk a little bit about the consumer, right? They're the ones that pays us, and they've got some ideas and concerns about how we dairy relative to animal welfare, sustainability. They're starting to favor some milk alternatives, and so let's have a conversation about that. Kelly, we're going to start with you. You were honorable mention in, I've got it written down here somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Yes. Through American Dairy, they have a animal care award, and we were honorable mention a few years ago, so that was exciting. I think the biggest thing is on our farm, on a lot of dairy farms, we're already doing so much for animal care and for sustainability, and the problem is we're not communicating that. And that's something we have a social media page. We try to connect with our consumers. It's been really great to put a face to a local farm for them. We ship to a regional cooperative in Western New York. And for people to be able to connect that brand, the Upstate Farms brand, to our farm when they're driving by or on our social pages, I think has been really beneficial. But the biggest thing is communication, and I always say, as farmers, that's something we don't take enough time to do, is communicate that we're already doing all of these things to take care of our cattle and our land and have a sustainable business. And it's really it comes down to better communication on our part.
Yeah, do you bring any locals to your dairy ever?
Yeah, we welcome tours. We welcome, questions on our social pages and things like that, so that we can be sharing a positive message. And we really enjoy tours. We did a virtual farm tour last spring. I think we reached tens of thousands of school-aged children, and hopefully if just 10 of those kids go home and tell their parents about the benefits of milk and what we're doing on our farm, I think that's a win for dairy.
Yeah. Jeff, what are you guys doing when it comes to animal welfare?
I think I really believe we do a great job with animal welfare on our farm. But like Kelly said, we can do a spectacular job. But if we don't tell people and we don't explain it and show them, it really doesn't matter. It's amazing to me. We have the opportunity to really speak to a lot of consumers that visit our place. And it's amazing to me just the misinformation or the assumptions that people make. And even people that you would think would have enough of a background that they would understand what we do on the farm, they really don't. And so it's really surprising when I can spend 15 minutes just chatting with somebody and having a give and take and answering their questions. There's so many misconceptions that it really is. Kelly's perfectly correct. We just need to do a better job of communicating, spending more time, and we really, when we're trying to talk with our neighbors who are now our customers coming to have ice cream, we don't do enough time myself. I get too busy on the farm where it'd be good if I was spending more time with the customers. But the more that we can explain that, the more we can bring that message into a bite-sized little piece. Because as much as I want to spend 15 minutes with someone to explain all those things, they don't really probably want to spend 15 minutes listening to that message. So it's always a challenge trying to make that point and do it in a quick and concise way.
Yeah, very good point. Joe, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would just add that I think I agree with both. We need to get our message out more, tell our story. One thing our industry figured out many years ago was to be successful and create a business that protected the environment, kept our footprint small. You had to take care of your cows, and so you look at the hours and countless dollars that have been spent on cow care in this country, and I'm going to plug it right back to where we're sitting at today, because you can learn a lot when you bring your cows to a show and take care of them on an individual basis. You can take that home and apply it, and the people that we bring to these shows with us and then they go back home, they are the best helpers. And I'll tell you, when you're at home taking care of your cows and getting them ready for a show, that rubs off on every last employee on your farm. They see the love and the care that you have for your animals, and that just spreads to them. And we raise our own calves, and we talked a little bit about genetics earlier, and I always think the most important technology on all of our farms, and it's what connects us together sitting right here, is having really good cows. And people that are cow people that we've talked about that got interested in breeding good cows, our grandfathers, they figured out that was the best form of technology you could have to grow your business, was to always have the best cow. And we're all competing against each other in some respects, but and that's what really protects the environment too, because you look at what the technology that's built inside these cows now, and they're what is it? We produce the same amount of milk with 66% less cows than they did 50 years ago. And I mean, I don't know that there's any other industry that can really say that. So yeah, it's
Joe, I'll agree with you. I'll point out, when we talk about technology, when I'm able to talk to people about what we do on our farm, one of those things is genetics, and some of them are flabbergasted to hear that we can actually select genetics where the cows are more efficient, and maybe they're more disease resistant, so they're going to take less antibiotic treatment, or they might live longer, and therefore we need to feed less animals because they have better longevity. And it's a great point. It's and that's a huge component of what we do in technology.
Yeah, we think about technology as computers on our farm, but the genetic choices we make every day, that's a huge gain for the industry and how we use technology on the farm.
And we're all using computerized feed programs. We're measuring what the cow eats. We're measuring what we put in the wagon every day. We're measuring how much milk she gives. It's become, I'll tell you, I always tell this quick story. We had a bunch of people from the FDA come out to California about 6 years ago, all people that worked in Washington, D.C. in different areas. And the reason why they brought them out was because they wanted to have people have a visual of what our farms look like. If they ever had a foodborne illness, they could relate it to where the milk comes from, or tomatoes come from, or cantaloupes, whatever's grown. And we had two ladies that were at our farm for a whole weekend, and when they left, they said, "We had no idea the technology that exists on your farm." They thought, the little red barn, and we've evolved a long way. And I think goes back to what we said earlier. We have to keep telling our story, because it's a great story, and the cow's a great asset to this planet. But we're all kind of guilty sometimes of, we tend to, if it's really positive, we don't listen long enough.
Yeah.
So,
you're right. We need to tell this story. We've been saying this for years, Joey. I've been in this business a long time, and I think it falls on all of our shoulders, whether we're dairy farmers, whether we're in industry. And I think somebody just needs to take the bull by the horns and get everybody together. And we got a great story to tell. We just need to tell it.
What's funny though, and I think I'm gonna put a little bit of it back on our education system, because we're all in the registered Holstein business. I've had a little chance to judge around the world, different countries. And I was in South Korea a few years ago, and we were at a cultural center, and I had these, my wife and I were walking, and these first and second graders kept coming up to us and thanking us. And finally I asked our guide, I said, I know they know we're probably from the United States or another country, of course, but why are they thanking us? And the guide said, well, for one thing, he said, the first thing here in first grade, they teach them how we got our freedom. And the United States was one of the, we were instrumental in them being a free country. He said the second thing is, we rely on other countries for 70% of our food, and we get a lot of it from you guys, and they get things that they love from you guys. And, I just about had tears in my eyes, because, you feel we're blessed in this country to have extra food, and the shelves are always full. And so when we can have the ability to feed people, kids in other countries, and that makes me feel good about what I do. And I know these guys feel the same.
Yeah, no, that's a great story, Joey. That's a great story. You guys have anything? Can you top that?
No, we did a great job.
So I wanted to circle back on something Kelly said. We were talking about technology, and you mentioned genetics. And so one of the hot things now is genomics, and that's really changing our commercial herds. Are you also using that with your genetics as well? And how are you using that? And what kind of impact is it having on your genetics businesses?
Take it away, Jeff.
That's Jeff's department.
Yeah.
We've invested in genomics heavily, and we've got a pretty active embryo program. We do a lot of embryo transfer. All of our calves that are born on the farm are genomic tested, really with our goal of finding the very best, not only females, but males too. We'll sell bulls to AI service, and the females can maybe be for sale or go back into our donor program. Over the years, it's evolved, and I'm pretty amazed at some of the progress we've been able to make. And we sell a lot of milking females as well, and that's kind of turned into a pretty good repeat business for us. And people have been very, very happy with how they've performed in their herds. But I think the uniformity and the progress that we've made, when I look at our young cattle, it's really, really impressive, and we're real happy with that progress we've made. More recently, we've started to use a little more beef semen and trying to reduce the number of females that we're producing. And I really think it's changing the industry as we speak. I even think that's going to get bigger as we're able to build those systems that can track those cattle. And we find the best genetics that work well on dairy cows, and then when they go into the feed yards, that they perform well, and they can track those genetics right from calf to slaughter, right to the person's plate. I think that's going to be an important piece. But so anyway, genomics plays a real big part in what we do, and we feel like we've benefited quite a bit from it.
Yeah. I was wanting to talk a little bit about the future of the dairy industry, right? And I mean globally. What's the U.S. role going to play globally? what's herds going to look like, how big are they going to be, where are they going to be located? Do you guys give any thought to that?
I'll jump out here. I think the U.S., especially the dairy industry, is, we have the best genetics in the world, and we've been leaders in that area. And I think even though we're going to be the most regulated, probably, well, I don't know, Europe's fairly heavily regulated, but I feel like our country has really been built on efficiency. And, regulations aren't always bad. They force us to do things different sometimes in a positive way. And I feel like we are going to still continue to be leaders on growing food, and probably the one country that other countries can count on year in and year out to have an adequate food supply that we can share some when we have plenty. But having said that, it won't go without us people being futuristic and, continuing to explore the newest, best technology that there is out there. So.
Yeah, I think, the global demand for dairy is real, and I think it's easy sometimes as farmers to get down. We talked about alternative beverages, things like that. Those challenges, I think, can sometimes cloud the bigger picture of there is a demand for dairy, there's a demand for high quality proteins, and we're able to provide that, and we're able to provide it to people cheap. And I think that when we're making those decisions for the future of our business, that's the thing we always have to remember is our population isn't getting smaller in the near future, and everyone has to eat. So I think that always needs to be in the back of our minds when we're making decisions about growth. Especially sometimes you get a little hesitant or a little down about the industry, but I think that's the big picture, and that's why we're all here, and all of this technology is here as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I would add to that I think that there's going to be an increased demand for people to be able to know where that food came from. And we see it a little bit because we're able to connect directly with those customers in our retail business. But I think that the U.S. is poised to do that better probably than any other country. As we talk about all of these systems and things that we do every day on our farm, we can track everything that we do. We can track those animals right from birth to the point of being production animals, to the point of them entering, alternative uses. We have tremendous capability to track that, to provide great food security, food safety, along with providing an exceptional product. So we can't be afraid to remind consumers about that. We can't be afraid. Consumers are willing to pay a little extra to know that it's exceptional quality and that know that it was produced responsibly in the right way and everything. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for us there. The face of the dairy industry will continue to change. There's no doubt about it. And I wish I had a crystal ball to say this is exactly what's going to happen. Likely the herd sizes will continue to grow. Likely certain areas of the country are going to grow and some are going to decline, depending on the economics of where they're producing milk. But I still think there's a real positive future for our product.
Yeah, so well said, Jeff. And so you may not have a crystal ball to know what's going to happen with the global dairy industry, but while we're talking about the future, what do you see for King's Ransom Farms, 10, 15 years down the road? What's it look like?
Well, hopefully we're still in business. That'd be a good positive right there. But, I think it's probably more of the same. We've got some family members, the next generation, who would be the fifth generation. They're interested in the business, and we have different ones interested in different aspects. So that's really great. I think that very possibly we could see more cows on the farm. Hopefully we're selling a little more ice cream than we are today. And we really are passionate about our genetic program, and hopefully we continue to breed cattle that make a difference in the breed and that can hopefully not only make a difference in our herd, but in other herds as well. That's
Yeah.
kind of our goal in the genetics business.
Cool. Kelly, what about Rhinecrest?
Yeah, I think we talk about the multi-generation farm, and there's 3 of us, and we all have families, and I think that our farm is poised to grow. I don't know if the growth that needs to happen can all happen right where we are right now. But whether growth looks like another facility or selling carbon credits, like you said, I think nothing's off the table. And as the industry changes, I think the biggest thing is we have to be ready to change with it. And we're excited about the future of the dairy industry and of our farm. So I think as long as there's that passion and excitement, our future will always be in dairy. And like Jeff said, we don't have a crystal ball, so what that looks like, who knows? But we're excited.
Very well. And Joey, same question for you.
So, the number one reason why farms stop is because there's nobody interested in keeping it going. And so I would say, first of all, the family members that are there that are on the farm, my son, his kids, which will be 6th generation, they have to have the passion. And my son does. His kids, I'm not sure. They're too young. But I'm kind of one to. You should do in life what you have a passion for, and not hold somebody to do something just because it's been there for 100 years. But hopefully, I think if they develop that passion, that'll be the number one thing that keeps it going. I would say, we haven't talked about it all, but the number 2 thing for me right now would be my state, the state of California, getting their act together on the water deal. Everybody wants to talk climate change, and you know what? I do believe that we have these cycles in our climate over time. None of us have been on this planet very long to really know what that cycle is, but they do change. We know that. And so I feel like the farmers we're doing our part to be sustainable, to use less water, but we have to have cooperation from the state to recognize that we need, our state's water infrastructure was built for 16 million people. We have 40 million people living right there. And my new theme is our water problem in California is a 40 million person problem, not the farmers in the San Joaquin Valley's problem. It's not climate change. It could be a little bit of different drought, of course, but whatever state you're in, you have to work together to deal with your problems and fix them, because there's some basic things in life that are important, and clean air, clean water, those are 2 of the most important ones, and food. But we can take care of the food if they give us a few of the other things. We're pretty good at doing the latter.
So you kind of touched on it, but what do you see the future of the dairy industry in California, right? I mean, there's only so much water out there. Something's going to have to give.
There is, I'll tell you, I don't see the dairy industry growing out there, of course. I will say this. We have probably the best weather in the United States day in and day out. And so that works to our advantage. And so, we have the water situation going on right now, but, I'm pretty confident at some point we're going to figure that out. But you're not going to see more growth on new dairies in California. But what you will see, and our industry's experienced this for 50 years, is people getting better at what they do, taking better care of their cows, and creating better cows that are healthier and give more milk. And that's been going on for a long time, and I don't think that's going to stop. So I see our industry kind of flatlining out there, but becoming more and more efficient.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Well said. So, folks, today's FFA Day here at the World Dairy Expo. And so with that in mind, what advice would you give to the next generation of dairy farmers? We know they've got passion, right? We've heard that today. So I think passion is synonymous with the dairy.
Tonight's pubcast stories are brought to you by the Keysure line of chelated minerals. Keyshure and Keyshure Plus deliver proven and consistent bioavailability to maximize performance, and a no-frills pricing approach for greater profitability. Visit balchem.com to learn more.
I think my advice, and I try to repeat this to my kids pretty regular, don't ever stop learning. And I even look back to my days in FFA. My kids were fortunate enough to participate in FFA, and it was great experience. And the more that you can open your horizons and learn at every single turn and try to watch someone who's successful and maybe analyze what made that person successful. How did they accomplish what they were doing? And maybe learn wherever you can. I think that's the key to setting yourself up for success in the future. Don't ever say, I've got it all figured out and I know how I'm going to get it done, because usually you don't.
Yeah, great advice, Jeff. Kelly, you are a young person, but anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I think just echoing Jeff's comments, but also being adaptable. I grew up with 40 cows, and now I live on a farm. We milk 1,400 cows. Being adaptable, never stop learning. And my husband, he's had the good fortune. He's worked for Joey before. I've worked for some incredible people, go to different operations, work for other people, and of course, never stop learning. I know zero about equipment. The whole drive out here from New York to Wisconsin, I was quizzing my husband about chopping corn and the semis and the chopper and all of that stuff, because you're never too old or young to learn something new. And that's my advice. Be adaptable and never stop learning.
Yeah, great advice. Joey, final words.
I would say, I just add to what they just said, have a dream, find a great person to share it with, like Tyler did, and don't be afraid to live your dream. And it's scary sometimes. I remember I built a new dairy, and my mom and dad and my wife and I, we built a new farm in 2006, and we spent $10 million. And, to be honest, my mom and dad were at a point in their lives where they didn't really need to do that. But they seen my passion for my dream. And so I think you can't be afraid to keep moving forward, because the minute you stop, you start going backwards. And so just, live your dream. I would like to say one thing too. Interestingly enough, we're all connected right here. She said Tyler interned, or they didn't intern, but he came to my farm for a couple of years and helped me. These guys bought one of our embryo we sold last year, and we just actually met in person the other night. So just
That's right.
Yeah.
At Runecrest.
It's a small world.
Yeah, at Runecrest.
That's right.
At our booth,
So
at
that's
our
right.
display.
There's a little fate going on right here. So anyway, thanks.
That's awesome. No, this has been great. I have really enjoyed the conversation. You guys have been awesome. Just great guests, and I'm going to enjoy listening back to this. So I want to thank you all for joining us. Also want to thank our loyal listeners for joining us once again. Hope you learned something, hope you had some fun, and hope to see you next time here at the Real Science Exchange, where it's always happy hour and you're always among friends.
We'd love to hear your comments or ideas for topics and guests, so please reach out via email to anh.marketing@balchem.com with any suggestions, and we'll work hard to add them to the schedule. Don't forget to leave a 5-star rating on your way out. You can request your Real Science Exchange t-shirt in just a few easy steps. Just like or subscribe to the Real Science Exchange and send us a screenshot along with your address and t-shirt size to anh.marketing@balchem.com. Balchem's Real Science Lecture Series of webinars continues with ruminant-focused topics on the first Tuesday of every month, monogastric-focused topics on the second Tuesday of each month, and quarterly topics for the companion animal segment. Visit balchem.com/realscience to see the latest schedule and to register for upcoming webinars.